What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for October 9th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of the podcast, a very solemn Wednesday. Happy hump day, although I'm not very happy right now, and might as well just get right into it. I started this. We just did the 2-year celebration anniversary special, but when I started it was a good time in Philly sports. We had the Phillies getting ready to go on a World Series run. The Eagles were in the middle of a Super Bowl run. Times were good, and it just was one of those things that made this easy. And if you've been here for a long time, you know that over the 2 years, it's slowly grown into sort of what it is today. It started off just focused on the history, and to me, that's still the key component and the part I love the most about this podcast. But when we were feeling good, it was fun to talk about what was going on. And I mean, I've come on here after Super Bowl losses, after playoff losses, World Series losses, and this just feels different. I don't know why. This just feels different. And I've been talking about the new Philly mentality versus the old Philly mentality, and I just can't shake the old Philly. So maybe there is no such thing as the new Philly. Maybe this is just the way it's meant to be for us and how it is. Brutal loss. I mean, you had 5 hits in the entire game, and 2 of them, I think, came in the 8th inning. Just brutal. And Nola wasn't horrible. I mean, yeah, he gave up a couple homers, but I mean, that's what he does. The stat that they gave was ridiculous. He's basically a home run per start. But he kept them in it, and it's just they weren't hitting the ball well. They weren't hitting the ball hard. They weren't patient. I feel like the Mets were pounding Nola, good hard swings, and kind of had a plan of attack. And the Phillies just didn't look like they had a plan of attack. They were just kind of going through the motions, and I don't know, man. And this is We'll see. A lot can happen. I mean, Ranger on the mound today to stave off elimination. We've been talking a lot about that 1980 Phillies team in our Red October great games in Phillies postseason history. They were cardiac, where they were down 2-1 in the NLCS game, best of 5, and came back and won the final 2 games in extra innings. So maybe we can summon some of that luck. But I feel very defeated today, and it's just, I think, because you put so much time and energy and effort into rooting for a team, and to kind of know what's going to happen and see it play out the way it is just very, very frustrating. And I know that's not very new Philly-like, but again, maybe this is just who we are. Maybe this is just Philadelphia. I'm on a text chain with some family members, and my uncle probably put this in. He's a regular listener. What's up, Uncle Roach? But probably put this in as a throwaway line in our text chain, but it really struck me. And he flat out said, like, we were all complaining, my cousins, my brother, just about this, that, or the other, and no hitting, no pitching. We're not doing this well. We're not doing this well. And I wanted to share this because this kind of put things into perspective heading into tonight's game. And I was already thinking ahead. Like, I take notes and everything during games, and I had the new Philly thing sort of teed up to be like, hey, maybe this isn't new Philly, but this really hammered home the point that maybe there really is no new Philly. And talking about the game and how it played out, he said, it's a Philly thing. I've been dealing with Philly sports like this for 60-some years. All you can do is root for them and hope for the best. And I think that's the perspective we need heading into the elimination game. Thanks to my Uncle Randy. All you can do is root for them and hope for the best. Know that it's been done before. The Phillies organization has done this, come back from a 2-1 deficit on the road. At least they got Game 5 at home. They came back and won Game 4 of the 80 NLCS on the road or at home, and then had to come back and face Nolan Ryan, which we'll talk about later today, on the road. So are the odds against us? Yes. Is this the same odds that the 1980 Phillies faced in that NLCS against winning a game and then coming home against Nolan Ryan? I think that was probably much harder. So game 4 tonight, it's a Philly thing. All we can do is root for them and hope for the best. Let's go Phils, and hopefully we have one more day at least to talk about this team and keep fighting. But I think that sums up probably how a lot of us feel right now. And I know another text chain I'm on, one of my buddies was saying he feels like a big comeback. I don't know. Would it be surprising if they came back and won this series? Absolutely not. Would it be surprising if they came out and got beat 10-1 tonight? Absolutely not. Like my uncle said, all you can do is root for them and hope for the best. So here we go. Game 4 tonight, Ranger. We need the Ranger Suarez game. He's been so good in the postseason over the past couple of years. Hopefully we get some of that Ranger Suarez magic back. And let's just hope for the best. Go Phils. Let's do it. Recapping yesterday's question of the day, it was 69% of you thought the Phillies were going to win it, myself included. But that leads us to today's question. Do the Phils get eliminated tonight? 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. That'll get you in, vent, get anything Philly sports related off your chest. But again, maybe this is just who we are as a fan base. Just one of the things that just the luck of the draw. We were born in this area. We grew up watching these teams, and it's a Philly thing. Maybe. Let me know your thoughts on that. But do the Phils get eliminated tonight? 267-495-8531. That'll get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. Some quick housekeeping notes. Be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont, Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram. Hopefully now that fall sports and it can kind of focus on doing some things. And of course, I'm thinking about trying to do some live whatever with Eagles games, and the Eagles aren't cooperating. But be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Spread the word. If you enjoy this, somebody else likely will too. And share in our misery of just being a Philly fan. I mean, we're non-discriminatory. Everybody's welcome. Have them come in and just wallow in the misery and wallow in the sorrow of being for Phillies fans. Always hoping for the best, but know that I use the analogy a lot with the Sixers, but Lucy with the football, she's going to move that football at the end. So come, have them join us, and we'll have some fun. If you need some information about the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony, all of that is in the description. The induction ceremony is coming up in November. Great list of inductees this year, so check that out. And maybe for the last time, get your Red October gear from Philly Goat. Maybe you can pack it away and save it for next year. Give it out as gifts. But they do have a wide selection of Eagle stuff, Sixers stuff. We've talked a lot about the Flyers. So go check out PhillyGoat.com. Be sure to use that promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. And who knows, maybe my uncle will get a shirt at Philly Goat with his saying. But they have you covered other than Red October as well. So go to Philly Goat, use that promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. And as much as I hate to say it, check out my boys at the Clashing Conferences. It's going to be an interesting week this week. That's available wherever you get your podcasts as well as on YouTube. Topher Pete's already talking trash with Danny Dimes. I'm sure the baseball episode with Mike is going to be interesting. And I shouldn't say I hate to say it. Go check them out. It's just going to be take our medicine as Philly fans listening to those guys this week. But the Clashing Conferences podcast, that's wherever you get your podcasts as well as on YouTube. All right, some interesting Eagles news as they head into the Browns week. Devin White's been released, and I don't necessarily think it's a surprise that they've released him. The whole thing just doesn't make any sense. All the starting reps in training camp and then lose the starting job and then basically be inactive for the first 4 games of the season. There has to be more to it than what we were seeing, but somehow they worked out a deal. The Eagles are going to get some money. Devin White doesn't have to clear waivers, but the Devin White era in Philly is over. Don't really know what that means moving forward for the defense since he's been inactive. Just one of those, and it was the timing was interesting too. This came out like an hour before the Phillies game or so. So I don't know if Howie was trying to sort of get caught up in the Red October news dump or what. But looking ahead to this game, Nick Sirianni is 4-0 coming out of a bye. I mean, and this team has to blow Cleveland out. I think they come out and blow the Browns out. Everybody takes a deep breath and says, okay, maybe we figured it out. Obviously, there's going to be people questioning, well, it's the Browns. But I think they need to come out and do what they need to do in order to get this going. Sixers continue to work through training camp. They have their official NBA preseason game on Friday. And speaking of Friday, Flyers dropped the puck on Friday out in Vancouver. We will do a little Flyers preview. And I mentioned it yesterday, and I will give it to you Friday as well. There's a season-long bet for the Flyers that I think will keep our interest and allow us to really dive into this season and enjoy watching it. So stay tuned on Friday for our Flyers preview, where I'll give you a season-long bet that will keep us entertained and glued to the Flyers all season long. And speaking of the Flyers, today we're going to go back to 1983. And on this day in 1983, Flyers improved to 3-0 to start that season by beating the Pittsburgh Penguins 7-1 down at the Spectrum. Tim Kerr got the scoring started early with his first goal of the season 29 seconds into the game. 11 seconds later, it was Bill Barber scoring and make it 2-0. But more importantly for Bill, it was his 400th career goal. He became only the 19th ever NHL player at that time. More people have done it since, but the 19th player to ever score 400 goals in a career. And at that point, I think he was one of like 7 who were active players who had that going on. But he wasn't done. He had it number 401 on a power play goal in the second period. Pelle Lindbergh was outstanding, saving 28 of his 29 shots. As the talk in the newspaper that day, though, or the next day, was, will he get to 500? He did not. He ended up with 420 goals for his career. And the Flyers that season ended up losing in the first round of the playoffs to the Washington Capitals. But that was sort of a transition period for the Flyers, where the older guys from the Broad Street Bullies were starting to get older and kind of phase out. Tim Kerr ended up having 2 goals and an assist in that game, but he had almost a 100-point season. So it was almost like the changing of the guard, that 83-84 team. And we know in 84-85 they made that run to the Stanley Cup. So kind of a transitional year, but it was one where Bill Barber was able to celebrate becoming just the 19th NHL player to score 400 goals. And of course he did it. Back then the Penguins weren't the Penguins that we know them today. They were just a terrible team, but it's always fun to look back and say, hey, we beat the Penguins 7-1 on this day back in 1983. Bill Barber with 2 goals, and he ended up with going over 400 for his career, ending his career with 420. All right, let's try to bring this Phillies team some luck today. I want to see at least one more baseball game after tonight. So today's Red October, great games in Phillies postseason history. We're going to go back to the team we've been referencing a lot during this segment. And they came back. They did it. They were down 2-1. Came back, won both games, both of them in extra innings. We talked about Game 4 of the 80 NLCS, so let's talk about Game 5. And this was already an exciting and entertaining series. 3 straight games went into extra innings. Game 2, 3, and 4. So why not Game 5? And of course, the Astros jumped out to an early 1-0 lead down in the Astrodome. Bob Boone singled in a run in the top of the second, or singled in 2 runs in the top of the second. Then the Astros came back with 1 in the 6th, and then 3 in the 7th. So it was 5-2 heading into the 8th inning with Nolan Ryan on the mound. So when you think about this team right here, right now, today, just know that top of the 8th inning in the 1980 NLCS, Phils were down 3 runs against Nolan Ryan, who, if you kids out there don't know who Nolan Ryan is, look him up. One of the all-time greatest flame-throwing pitchers of all time. Did it well into his 40s and did it well well into his 40s. But Phillies got 3 straight singles. Larry Boa hit one. Bob Boone beat out an infield single. And then Greg Gross, yes, Greg Gross, pinch hitting legend, dropped a bunt to load the bases. Pete Rose walked. And then Keith Moreland grounded out to get the Phils to within 5-4. And then Del Unser tied the game at 5 with a with an RBI hit. And then up stepped Manny Trio, the hero of the series. He hit a 2-run triple to give the Phillies a 7-5 lead. Phil scored 5 off of the Astros in the top of the 8th. And everybody was ecstatic. Everybody looked happy until the bottom of the 8th. The Astros tied it because, of course, they did. Why would this game not go into extra innings as well? Every other game except for game 1 did. So, again, on the edge of their seats, like my uncle said, all you got to do is root for them and hope for the best. And I'm sure everybody thought the Phillies were going to the World Series, and then the Astros tied it. Well, top of the 10th, old Del Unser again, he doubled. Gary Maddox followed that up with a double. They get the Astros out 1-2-3 in the bottom of the 10th. The Phillies win the pennant for the first time since 1950. Manny Trio was the MVP. He hit 381, had 4 RBI, 2 double, and that huge 8th inning 2-out triple to tie the game or give them the 2-run lead. But when it seemed as though the odds were stacked against them, that Phillies team stepped up to the plate, came back, won it, and we know how that played out. Can this Phillies team this year do it again? I mean, absolutely. Why not? They are a resilient bunch. We've seen it all season. They've been through so much over the past few years. If they come out flat, I think we need to see a lot of wholesale changes. And we'll get more into that in the offseason. I don't want to even go down that road right now. But our Red October great game in Phillies postseason history, Game 5 of the 1980 NLCS. Phillies beat the Astros 8-7 in 10 innings to go to the World Series for the first time since 1950, and we know how that played out. And they came back from a 2-1 deficit in that series, best of 5. So not too far off from what this team is facing today. Ranger Suarez on the mound. Let's go. We need the Ranger Suarez game today. But on this day in 1983, Flyers beat the Penguins 7-1. Bill Barber with 2 goals, going over 400 for his career, becoming only the 19th player in NHL history to do so at that time. But it's all about the Phillies. Let me know. Do they get eliminated today? Do you believe in them? 267-495-8531. That'll get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. And, I mean, it is what it is. This is who we are as Phillies fans. This is what we deal with on a regular basis. As much as it sucks right now and as much as it hurts and frustration, the nerves, all of that, those emotions playing in, they win today. We're all going to be fired up on Friday. So let's take it one game at a time. And as Uncle Roach says, all you got to do is root for them and hope for the best. So let's hope for the best. Ranger, we got your back tonight. Let's pull out all the stops, and there's no tomorrow. So let's go. Get your head out of your butts. Swing at good pitches. Wait on some pitches, and let's score a ton of runs tonight. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for October 9th, 2024. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourself some Wednesday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.